Hello and welcome to Coffee and Card, July 2025. My name's Linda, sorry, adjusting myself in my chair, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator in the UK, in Trafford, South Manchester. And today, or this month rather, we are using the Sunrise Sailing bundle, which is an online exclusive, and I think it's the best value bundle we have at the moment. It's really good value. So you get all these stamps, you get all these dies, so that's what, 10 dies, and then you also get this combination embossing folder, which you can combine by adding that die, so you can die cut and emboss your boat, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute, at the same time. Okay, so, and all of that for £47.50, which I think is an amazing. In fact, when I was pricing up this bundle as a coffee and card, I had to keep checking the price because it was so cheap. It was like £48 or £47.50 for dies, stamps and an embossing folder. I think is a really good price. So, and July is a 5-week month, so we get a free card as well, so it's a really good value coffee and card this month. So let's get started. So many stuff. So this is the card we're making. I'm starting with a joy fold. I do love this fold, and I'm just going to show you how to do this. And also what I've done here is I've just used the C part of the embossing folder to emboss the Poppy Parade there, and then I have used a Stylish Shapes banner for the sentiment. Okay, so yeah, let's get started. Oh, tight. Right, okay, so in your kit you will have a piece of white to cut your boat out, a piece of Balmy Blue to go on the front there, and then there's a piece of Night of Navy that mounts onto. You've got a couple of pieces of Poppy Parade envelope, white for the inside. So measurements, right, so I'll get the the cheat sheet. So this one, it's 14.85 by 14.85 by 16, scored at 10.5. Okay, and then we've got 11.4 by 7, so that's this piece. All the measurements will be down below, which makes that 11.9 by 7.5. And then your red is 14.4 by 5 to fit on there. Okay, and then just your white scrap for stamping is actually some reason 10.2 by, I think that's inches. Just let me check. I bet I've cut this out of a square piece of basic white, and I have. It's 3 by 4, so that I can get a full sheet of these out of 112 by 12 basic white. Right, okay, so we shall get stamping to start with. So I'm going to stamp the boat first. So you need quite a big block, which is why I'm using my Misty here. And I've already positioned the stamp. So I'm going to stamp the boat in Night of Navy, and then I am going to stamp the flashes in Poppy Parade. So if you don't have a Poppy Parade, you could try using another red, or maybe another colour, maybe another blue, or even a neutral. Have a play. Real red would work, I would imagine. So there's my boat. Now, on my example, I actually stamped. There is a stamp in the set somewhere here, which is an infill stamp for the boat, which you can do. And this one I stamped it in Night of Navy, not Night of Navy, Misty Moonlight. But in this one I'm actually going to colour it in using a blend, so you can do either. So let's pop those out of the way. So I'll finished with that. So I'll pop that over there so it's out of the way. So I'm going to get my Paprade and my sales stamp. And I am going to, you can either do this as well on your stamping platform and line it up. But I'm going to use a block of cloth. Oh, it's fallen down again. And I'm just going to look through my light so that I can see where I'm positioning this. And I'm just sort of lining it up with the sails. Again, you could use your stamping platform. I've perhaps gone a little bit low this time. But do you know what? It's handcrafted. So I'll pop that away. And then I'm just going to take my Balmy Blue. And I'm using the dark, and I'm just going to quickly fill that in. As I say, you can use the stamp if you want, but just for speed. And as I say, I do like to be able to look straight down on my stamps when I'm lining them up, and I can't with my lights in the way, so we compromise. And I think that still looks gorgeous. Right, so I want to die cut and emboss this at the same time. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to position the die, and it is like one of the older dies. There is a little bit of a white margin around. So I think we're about there, maybe up a touch. And then I'm just going to put a couple of pieces of die tape. I get this off Amazon. And it's called Craft Perfect Die Tape. It's just a little less tacky than washi tape, so it doesn't take your stamping off with it when you remove it. So, and I am going to get my big shot. So I've got the basic, the normal platform, plus the 3D embossing folder, which was stamping up its plate for. And I am going to get my embossing folder. And what I'm going to do is centre my die on here. Okay, so I'm going to sort of shuffle it around until I feel it and it has clicked into place. And you can turn it over and check. So look, that is in, I don't know if you can tell, but it is in the boat. See my light there? Right. So, and then I am just closing that and keeping it in place. And remember, with your embossing folders, you want to go hinge first. Okay. So if anybody finds an easier way of lining all that up, do let me know. Probably, in fact, because I wanted to show you, once I'd lined it up that way, I'd have just closed it, then it'd have been easier. So, but you can see there it has cut it out. And I put the craft tape there and there because the bit you're lining up really is the boat and the top, so it doesn't compromise your lining up. And there we have our gorgeous little boat. How cute is that? Right, I'll get rid of the big shot. Okay, check we're all still straight. Oh, we are. That's unusual. Normally everything's all over the place when I've done that. Right, so we just need to finish our stamping. Let's put that back on its mat. Okay, so to do the sea effect, I've taken my Balmy Blue and the sea stamp, or the ripple stamp, I suppose it is, and I've started about a third of the way up. Oops, that would be very messy. Okay, and I've inked up my Stampin' Night of Navy. If you put your card straight on your grid paper, and then, as I say, maybe that's about a third. So stamp, re-ink, stamp again, but this time I've moved across. Re-ink, stamp again, move this way a bit. And then I've got room for a little one on the bottom. I think I might have gone a bit higher this time than I did with the original. But there we go. Okay, so we've got a lovely seascape there. And And then I'm going to position my boat roughly where I want it. So yeah, I've gone a bit higher, you can see, because there's more sea on the boat. And then I'm just going to take my little birds. Now I'm not going to glue. I'm going to do my birds first because they're quite small, so it's quite easy to like catch an edge. So I want to just get those in position, because just as it stands at the minute, if I make a mistake there, I can just flip the card and reuse the boat. If I've stuck the boat down, then I'm probably going to need to start again. Right, so that's that, and then I need my little banner. Now I've put my sentiment on a much bigger block than I need, so it's easier for me to line up on the piece of card. Obviously, if you've got a scrap of basic white and the stylish shapes, you can stamp and then cut out. But I know not everybody who's doing this has it, so I'm lining up as best I can without standing up. Yeah, oops. That will do. Okay, well now it's just, oh, still got some embossing to do. Let's get the machine out again. Pop the ink away, then I'm not making a mess. And we need our piece of red and our embossing folder again, which I have lost. Oh, there it is. So pop that back again. Same sandwich. So you use the same sandwich whether you're die cutting or embossing. And I'm just placing that just on the C, not right to the edge, but I think because it is a combination, it's got a much bigger edge than a lot of our embossing folders do. Again, hinge first into the rollers. Just your grey plates, your plate number 4. Make sure your embossing folder isn't overhanging, because that's an amazing way to wreck your embossing folder. Okay, so we're definitely finished with that now. So it just shows that you don't have to use the whole embossing folder. We've just used 2 parts of it today. And then we're just going to glue everything together. So, as with any embossing folder, or except the ones with words on, you can use either side. I'm going to use the embossed side rather than debossed. Just going to burnish that fold. There we go. And then starting from the back, I'm going to glue. Don't we always, I'm sure I've said this before, I'm gluing a piece of card that's blank on both sides, but I still turn it over to put the glue on. It's just a reflex, isn't it? We do it all the time. As I say, all the measurements are down below. And then we're going to put our Paprade on here. So while making up the kits, I've got a load of 5cm by 14.8 5cm pieces of Balmy Blue that I need to find something to do with. Got them in a little pile on my desk so that I don't forget I need to do something with them. There we go. So that's the card base. And now we're going to make the focal point. Might be needing new blades on these. Just a little bit frothy. There we go. So glue, glue, glue. There it is. That just on there, and then that's going to be going in the middle on the front, so I'm putting it in the middle on the inside where I want it, and then so I don't get glue everywhere, I only get glue where I want it. So I'm putting a thin bead of glue on that side, and then I need a thin bead of glue on this side, so that's under here, and then I can just pop that in place in the middle where I want it, and we have no glue on there. So it does look a wee bit crooked. I've got any wiggle room. Ah, yes, I've got bits of wiggle room left. There we go. Okay. And now I'm just going to add the boat on dimensional. So I'm going to use a mixture of little and big ones, which I did get out and then hid. So I'm going to use the little ones along here. So there's 1, come off, 2, 3, and then 1 towards the top. The nice thing about our dimensionals is they're the same thickness. The little ones and the big ones are the same thickness. The strips, the double-sided foam strips, are actually bigger. They're deeper, so they don't mix. But that's so that you can use them to make shaker cards and things like that. Right, so let's get these off. Come off. I do feel I'm all crooked, but I'm not. Do be careful on this bit because the mast is quite delicate, not as delicate as it is with the little boats, which I'll show you next week. So just popping that in the middle, and then I think I just pop some glue where I want the sentiment to go, so sort of on here, because there's a couple of layers of card there, so if you glue all of the sentiment it will sort of curve down, whereas I just want it to rest on that piece of card. And there we go. So there we are, card 1, week 1. I think it looks equally good. I think possibly I prefer it with the Misty Moonlight stamp, but I like that as well. So you can decide yourselves which way you want to go. Okay, so thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next week. Bye.